Dr. Asaf Romarovsky is Executive Director at Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. Want to get right to him. Good morning, Asaf. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Oh, what a morning it's been. So I was a little shocked when I heard that Israel bombed Syria. Were you a little surprised?
No, I'm not shocked by the attack itself. I think it's important to contextualize the fact that they are out there defending the Druze. I mean, the Druze have been long loyal individuals of the state of Israel, and the Druze in the north. And then there is their counterparts, the Druze families who are living in the Syrian area. And so, as a result of that loyalty, and I think it's worthy of note that the evidence that has now been put out there as far as the massacres, as far as brutality, a la 10/7, not to mention there's reports of taking hostages, by the Sunni Islamists against these minority groups, is quite telling. And I think that's very telling as far as what Israel does to protect other minorities within the Middle East.
Okay. I thought Syria was doing better. I thought they had better people running it and that things were starting to level out.
Well, I think that I think that the predictions were a little bit early in order to kind of make that assessment. I mean, Giuliani has ties with ISIS affiliates. As far as before he decided to turn his the facade as far as did he give up the ideology. I mean, he's only been in office for a few months. The Assad regime collapsed, and obviously they were kicked out, and he's taken over. But that being said, the ideology and the extremism is still there. Syria is let's not forget, historically, Syria as a manufactured country has been full of minorities for years, and so the entire configuration of how Syria is played out has been in these pockets of type of mafiosa type groups, for lack of a better word, that have been have their own allegiance, and now you have clearly another sign that the Islamist ideology, whether or not it's Sunni or Shia, will not accept anything that diverges away from their orthodoxy, and the fact that they're attacking minorities and the same kind of brutality that we saw when Israel was invaded on 10/7 is also very telling as far as minority groups living in the Middle East that don't coincide with the Islamist narrative that has become so pervasive in a country like Syria.
So it really always does come down to religion for folks like this, because they believe that if you're not like them, you're to be eliminated. They truly believe that. And so these people are at risk all of the time. But Trump has called on Israel to not strike Syria. Do you think that's the wrong move?
Well, I think the Trump administration, and this was something that was, there have been rumors up until this latest clashes have begun, that Netanyahu would potentially meet with Ashara, in September, right before the General Assembly meeting. When Trump was in the region, he met with him, and so there were potential conversations or talk about what normalization would look like, whether or not Syria, would join the Abraham Accords and whatnot. Again, it was too early to make these judgment calls because, he just, basically left this terror organization, put on a suit and a tie, and now running a country. So it's kind of hard to say, where things were going. Clearly now, we're seeing, even though there's attempts to try to mitigate some of the violence and whatnot, but clearly they're moving along with all of this, and I think that that's very telling as well. I mean, I think that they're revealing their true colors, and we are dealing, these Islamist or terrorist jihadi organizations. They have a very distinct Orthodox narrative that doesn't allow for any kind of other viewpoints, and whether or not, as I said, this is where they come together, whether or not they are Shiites or Sunnis. The black and white narrative and the culture of death that has become so pervasive within these Islamist jihadi groups is indeed very pervasive.
All right. So Trump has lifted some of the tariffs, or not tariffs, I'm sorry, some of the sanctions on Syria due to the switch of command, if you will, because he trusts them a little bit more. For a while there, he was in his first term, bombing Syria and going in there and cleaning house a little bit. So did he trust a little too soon? Is that what you're saying?
I think that I think we still need to give this time to, before we trust and verify all of these things and all the players on the ground. Syria is clearly evolving. I mean, I think that the initial assessments were that Syria is not going to open up a new front on Israel while Syria is still trying to get its own house in order. The main factor to look at when it comes to Syria is also obviously the Russians who were able to create a safe haven for Assad when he escaped. But let's not forget about the Turks in the Turkish area, the Kurdish areas. A lot of these forces are coming from those areas there, and I think that it's still too early to give a clear assessment. And Syria is still feeling itself out. And I think that if they're going to go in the direction of this, kind of Islamist way, and they're going to join forces, let's not forget that the Turks and the Iranians, have also very close ties as well. If that's the direction where they're going at, which of course is anti-Western and anti-American, then that should be quite telling to us as well. I think that the debates or the early conversations, through interlocutors, of whether or not the Israelis would move back, after Assad was the regime collapsed, was removed. Basically, Israel took on those military outposts in those areas that were done, that Syria held on to all the years that the Assad regime was in power. Now that they're still there, they need to remain there to make sure that things are not going to be bleeding into Israel. The Druze are loyalists when it comes to the country that they serve under, and they have been very loyal to Israel. And I think that that's also, a message that came out of the Netanyahu government was that we're here to help you, and we're here to protect, you as minorities in the region as well. So I think that that's also what you saw exercised here.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that Trump should agree with what Israel's done and look at it for what it is at face value and understand the things that you just said, and maybe get some people who understand the topic greatly to explain to him that Israel is doing what it needs to do to help defend the people who cannot defend themselves under the pressure of these people who want to eliminate them?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we have to be look, Trump is a very transactional president and is looking to make deals and to create enough incentives to create those deals, to create calm in the region. I think that in his wish list, he would like to include Syria, but I still think, to my mind, that everything is too fresh and too green to assess as they're trying to move forward. And that may not happen now. I think that there's a lot, the Middle East, as you and I have discussed for months now, is extremely fluid, and we are seeing these tensions between sectarian forces and the insurgent forces and Islamist forces that are all in the region itself, that are all coming together, after they have their own different own self-interests. And I think that this could take some time. That being said, I think that it's very telling that the areas that were attacked inside of Israel, area known as Marjal Shams, where the Jewish community lives. Let me remind you and your listeners, that's the area where that were attacked when they attacked that soccer field that killed a bunch of kids. So so that area has been constantly barraged by attacks. The Israelis are there to defend, those who are with them. And I think that they're doing the right thing regarding that. I mean, you're not seeing any outcry or outrage, for that matter, about what's going on in those Druze areas inside of Syria. Massacres and rapes and brutality. Where's the world? Where's the outcry when those things are happening? And that speaks of the true nature of what is actually happening in Syria and the true nature of the Islamist narrative, which is also important to note. In general, how these individuals are operating and what they stand for.
And how they've been raised and indoctrinated and told that this is how it's supposed to be, and anybody who's not like this should be eliminated. I mean, it's in their blood.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way that we have, peeled the onion and looked again and again when it comes to groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. We're talking about groups that, that celebrate the culture of death. It's a very binary, black and white narrative, and there's not much room for compromise and negotiations. And when they don't like what they see, then they eliminate it. And and this is what you're seeing play out here. I think that Syria economically, as it's trying to evolve now, in this post-Assad era, is trying, will potentially try to put on a good face, look for economic incentives and other kind of things, that they may want to get from us, the United States. But I still think this is a major trial period, and I don't think we should jump the gun here.
Okay. I know, and Trump is transactional. He got, Turkey and Pakistan to stop fighting. He's been able to get people to have commerce together who've never had it before. And he sees those as a huge badge of honor, but I do want him to treat Syria as the way I see it. And that's a very dangerous place. It's the same way I see Lebanon. It's the same way I see a lot of countries over there, where they'll say what you want to hear until they get what they want, and then they turn back into who they are.
100%. I mean, we're talking about a shift ideologically, politically, religiously, and these things don't happen overnight. And not only that, some of them, as you're seeing the same kind of phenomenon in Europe and here in the States, when they leave their countries of origin, they bring the ideology with them, and they actually try to spread it wherever they go. So, the idea that this kind of belief that we have something everybody wants vis-a-vis our way of life and democratization and culture and Westernism, that's not something that they actually want. And I think that that's part of the loss in translation when we're talking about the playing field that we're at. We're making the assumption that our way of life is something that people would want. And when you're trying to put that into an environment that is not conducive and is not something that, that is within the realm of their thinking, then this is where this cultural gap, or more than that, there's a gap in general, exists that is impacting them politically, culturally, and religiously.
Yeah, that's why we have what we have going on here in the U.S., because they've come here to change us, not the other way around. They don't want to bear the fruits of our labor. They want to eat our fruit and kill us. Dr. Asaf Romorowski, Executive Director, Scholars for Peace in the Middle East. You cannot change the color of a crayon. It is what it is, and you have to respect it for what it is. And if it's not going to be peaceful, you have to eradicate it. It's that simple. Where do they go to learn more about you and your Scholars for Peace in the Middle East? I have less than 30 seconds.
Our website is spme.org, and all our work is there.
All right. Thank you, Asaf.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.